What if the path to a staggering $9.2 billion actually began with a total, unmitigated failure? Today, we're not just telling a success story. We're taking a deep dive into the mind of Vinod Khosla. This is the man whose very first startup, get this, a soy milk business in rural India, it collapsed almost immediately.
Right.
And yet that same man would go on to fundamentally reshape Silicon Valley. He co-founded Sun Microsystems, became the venture capitalist behind really daring bets like Impossible Foods, QuantumScape, Stripe, OpenAI.
The list goes on.
It really does. Forbes puts his fortune around $9.2 billion as of 2025.
Yeah, but what truly sets Khosla apart, I think, isn't just the sheer scale of his fortune or even the companies he's backed. It's his philosophy, really.
Okay.
An unwavering willingness to embrace risks that, frankly, would terrify most people, and this almost uncanny ability to spot opportunity in ideas that everyone else is dismissing as, impossible.
So in this deep dive, our mission is basically to uncover the hidden mindsets, the bold strategies that allowed Khosla to build this empire. And, critically, how he continues to influence the future.
Absolutely.
We'll explore his really unusual relationship with money, his unique career strategy, maybe some of his peculiar habits, his overarching philosophy of life, and how he handles crisis.
Sounds like a plan. It's a fascinating story.
Okay, so when we talk about Vinod Khosla and his billions, it's easy to just focus on the numbers, but you mentioned his relationship with money is unusual. How does he really perceive it? Where did that perspective even come from?
Well, that's a great place to start. Because for Khosla, money has never, ever been the end goal. It's always been a tool, a means to an end.
Okay.
And to understand this, you kind of have to go back to his childhood. Pune, India, in the 1960s. His family wasn't wealthy, right? But young Vinod wasn't chasing luxury. He was just captivated by possibility.
Yeah.
He once shared that reading an article about Silicon Valley entrepreneurs, that sparked a dream. The dream wasn't get rich. It was use technology for massive, systemic impact.
Ah, okay. So
Yeah.
the money was always secondary, just fuel for that vision.
Exactly. Fuel. That's the perfect word.
And ironically, his very first attempt to make that impact, that soy milk business in India, that became a very harsh lesson, didn't it?
Oh, definitely.
He wanted to solve a basic social problem.
Yeah.
Milk spoiling quickly in villages without refrigeration.
Absolutely. He saw soy milk as this perfect substitute, a way to address a real need, but the venture it collapsed almost immediately.
Wow.
No market adoption, distribution was a nightmare. I mean, it was a complete failure in the traditional sense.
Right.
But for him, that failure was actually a profound education. He learned that money without scale and a clear vision for systemic change is pretty much useless.
Okay.
You can't just offer a product. You have to fundamentally change a system to build enduring wealth and impact. And that failure, that was the initial crucial seed of his financial philosophy.
So fast forward to 1982 when he co-founds Sun Microsystems. Was this a direct application of that lesson then? Because Sun wasn't just about building computers.
No, it wasn't.
It was about breaking the monopoly of those closed proprietary systems, right?
Precisely. They made this massive bet on open architectures and a new kind of chip design, RISC microprocessor design, which was a huge departure from the closed systems dominating the market then, like IBM's.
A huge gamble.
Huge gamble. Many dismissed it. But Sun became this monumental success, hit $1 billion in revenue within just 5 years.
Incredible.
And it proved his conviction. Money flows towards those who fundamentally reshape established systems, not those who just make, incremental improvement.
He's quoted as saying something like, I don't care about making money, I care about solving problems that make money as a byproduct.
Yeah.
That's a pretty radical statement for a billionaire.
It really is.
How does that philosophy actually shape how he uses his money?
Well, that's where you see what we could maybe call as optionality capitalism.
Optionality capitalism. Okay, unpack that.
So he views capital not as this static reward you need to protect, but as an option. A ticket, basically, to place bolder bets on the future.
Right.
Think about it. Most investors diversify, right, to protect their wealth. Khosla kind of does the opposite. He amplifies it by concentrating on high-risk, high-impact ideas.
So he leans into the risk.
Totally leans in. And this is precisely why, in 2004, he left the stability of Kleiner Perkins. I mean, one of the most prestigious VC firms out there, to start Khosla Ventures, largely with his own capital.
Wow.
It was about creating the ultimate freedom, the ultimate optionality to pursue those impossible ideas.
And that philosophy has certainly paid off, you could say. Khosla Ventures manages over $15 billion by 2025. His personal wealth, $9.2 billion. Yet he's pledged to donate most of it through the Giving Pledge.
Exactly.
So for him, wealth isn't just a number, it's like a license to reimagine reality.
That's a perfect way to put it. For Khosla, wealth is validated by optionality, just the sheer ability to fund ventures others wouldn't dare touch. Imagine being able to fund, I don't know, a quantum battery startup when everyone else thinks it's pure science fiction just because you have the capital and the guts to do it.
Right. Or Impossible Foods back in the day.
Or Impossible Foods, exactly, back when plant-based meat was largely mocked. Or even his investment in OpenAI long before AI became this global obsession it is now.
Yeah.
To him, money isn't the goal. It's, as you said, the permission slip to reimagine reality. It's about empowering the improbable.
Okay, it's clear his relationship with money is pretty unconventional. But how did this unique mindset translate into the actual steps he took in his career? Because his path, it isn't a straight line, is it?
Not at all.
It's like a series of bold reinventions, almost as if he views careers as launch pads, not ladders.
That's a perfect way to put it. Launch pads. And that initial soy milk failure, that was pivotal. It didn't just push him towards America.
Right.
It ingrained in him this philosophy that if you're going to dedicate your life to something, it must be big enough to matter.
Big enough to matter.
Yeah. He wasn't looking for just a job. He was looking for the job, the opportunity that could change everything.
So his move to the U.S., Carnegie Mellon, Stanford, that wasn't just about degrees then. It was strategic positioning.
Oh, absolutely strategic. He was putting himself right at the center of the coming tech revolutions, getting the knowledge, building the network, being where the biggest problems could potentially be solved.
And then came Sun Microsystems in '82.
Right. And their mission seemed audacious, right? Building open systems on UNIX, challenging giants like IBM.
Yeah.
But like we said, wildly successful, even gave the world Java.
Sun's success was astounding. Yet Khosla made a move next that, honestly, most founders would never dream of.
Right.
He actually stepped down as CEO in 1984. And by '86, he'd left all operating roles to join Kleiner Perkins, a top-tier VC firm.
Yeah.
What was the rationale there? I mean, to outsiders, it must have looked completely reckless, abandoning this billion-dollar rocket ship he helped build.
Oh, it definitely looked reckless from a traditional career perspective. But for him, the rationale is clear. It was the next logical step in a career designed for leverage, not just titles.
Leverage? How so?
At Kleiner Perkins, he could multiply his influence, right? Championing game-changing companies like Juniper Networks, Cerent Corporation, which Cisco bought for, $6.9 billion?
Oh, yeah.
And NextGen, which merged into AMD. These were all high-risk, high-reward bets, perfectly aligned with his philosophy of systemic impact.
Okay, so he wasn't interested in just running one successful company.
Exactly. Not when he could fund and influence dozens. It was about scaling his impact.
And he didn't stop there. 2004, he does it again.
Yeah.
Another reinvention.
Yep.
Leaves Kleiner Perkins, starts Khosla Ventures, seeding much of it with his own billions.
Right.
This really defines his systemic disruption strategy, doesn't it?
It really does. He deliberately seeks out companies that threaten to rewrite entire industries, not just, offer incremental improvements. Yeah. He's often said something like, if an idea looks reasonable, it is already too late.
Meaning, if everyone agrees it's a good idea.
The truly disruptive opportunity has likely passed. It's already becoming mainstream.
By 2025, the portfolio of Khosla Ventures, it reads like a map of the future. Impossible Foods, QuantumScape, LanzaTech, Square, Stripe, Affirm, and that early $50 million bet on OpenAI.
It's an incredible track record. His influence spans 4 decades now, consistently finding these new mountains that others are afraid to approach.
Yeah.
And his wealth, while obviously impressive, really does feel almost incidental, like a byproduct of this relentless reinvention and this unwavering belief in bold risks, always seeking that next frontier where impact can be scaled dramatically.
Okay, so beyond the career pivots, what truly sets Vinod Khosla apart are maybe his peculiar habits and behaviors.
Yeah.
You mentioned he's not someone glued to financial models.
No, not at all.
Instead, he's often buried deep in scientific journals, technical papers, talking to researchers. Why is that his preferred method?
Well, his belief, I think, is that the billion-dollar companies, they're rarely found in boardrooms discussing spreadsheets. They're hidden in the ideas of eccentric scientists, young engineers, and founders.
The ones ignored by the mainstream.
Often, yeah. The ones ignored by the mainstream. This immersion in raw science, this willingness to go right to the source of innovation, that gives him a huge advantage. He's looking for the fundamental breakthroughs, not just polished business plans.
This leads us to what we could call his ridiculed persistence. It seems like he's comfortable with intellectual solitude, with being contrarian, and ultimately being proven right.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when he backed Impossible Foods in 2011, many people in Silicon Valley in the food industry, they just dismissed plant-based meat as absurd, a niche fad at best.
That's a perfect illustration. Perfect. But Khosla saw the bigger picture, right? The convergence of climate change, consumer health trends, and these genuinely groundbreaking scientific advancements in, like, flavor engineering.
He saw it coming.
He saw it coming. He had the foresight to see this wasn't just a food trend. It was a potential solution to a massive global problem. And look now, Impossible Foods is a leader in a market projected to exceed $30 billion by 2030.
Wow.
He was willing to be laughed at for years because he had that longer view.
Another unique trait you mentioned is his deep distrust of consensus. He actively avoids opportunities that everyone agrees are promising. Why? Why do that?
Because, he argues, by the time a consensus forms around an idea, the opportunity's already been commoditized. The big upside is gone.
Right.
At Khosla Ventures, the mantra is basically, if an idea looks reasonable, it is probably too late. For him, the real juice, the true opportunities lie in the uncomfortable zones, the areas where most people are too skeptical or just too risk-averse to invest.
So the outcome of this distrust is a portfolio that looks, well, frankly, filled with seemingly irrational bets, things with extremely long timelines, like using synthetic biology to literally re-engineer carbon out of the atmosphere, or developing quantum battery tech that's still largely theoretical for most people.
Right. For traditional investors, these are too uncertain, too far out, too dangerous.
But for Khosla,
That's precisely where he wants to be. He's not looking for the next photo-sharing app. He's looking for the next paradigm shift, even if it takes decades to materialize.
his habits also show a disciplined use of time, right? You mentioned deep dives.
Yeah, he prefers deep dives into fewer projects, sometimes spending entire afternoons just talking with early-stage founders. He really values those raw debates where assumptions are torn apart over, slick, polished pitch decks.
So he's digging for the core idea.
Digging for the core idea and the raw talent behind it.
Perhaps his most unusual behavior, though, is his openness to public failure. He's made quite a few failed bets, right? Especially during that Cleantech wave in the early 2010s. Billions were lost across the industry.
Oh yeah, the whole sector took a hit.
Yet, he talks about these losses openly, almost proudly, calling them tuition fees for the future. That's almost unheard of for someone at his level.
It is incredibly rare. Most billionaires would go to great lengths to hide setbacks like that. But Khosla seems to view them as an essential part of learning, of evolving.
Which brings us to his core life philosophy. Safety is an illusion.
Pretty much. He often says that true security comes not from avoiding risk, but from intelligently engaging with it. You might fail, sure, but you learn from it, and you apply those lessons to the next bet, which might be even bolder.
So his decision-making framework is kind of radical then. He's willing to back ideas with, less than a 10% chance of success?
If the impact of success would be transformative, yes. He'd reportedly rather fail 90% of the time than miss the 10% of ideas that can reshape entire industries.
Wow. It sounds like he's completely redefining risk itself.
He absolutely is. For him, the real risk isn't losing money on a bet. It's the risk of missing the opportunity. Failing to participate in something that could genuinely change humanity's trajectory. He's just playing a different game.
And there's a human dimension here too, right? Despite the billions, he projects this image of someone not chasing luxury. He's committed to the giving pledge.
Right. Seeing wealth as truly meaningful only when it's deployed for societal good. You see it in the kinds of businesses he gravitates towards solving these huge existential problems like climate change, food security, healthcare.
That's a really interesting point about the tension maybe between private ownership and public responsibility.
Yeah.
Back in 2010, he faced quite a bit of controversy for blocking public access to a beach property he owned.
Ah, yes, the Martin's Beach case.
How do you think he reconciles that kind of public criticism with his overarching philosophy of societal impact? Seems like a contradiction.
Well, it certainly exposed a tension that many wealthy individuals face, that friction point between private rights and public good. His actions there led to significant public debate, legal challenges. It wasn't a great look, frankly.
No.
However, it's also true that during a major crisis, like the COVID-19 pandemic hitting India hard in 2021, he did step up. He leveraged his influence, his resources, to fund oxygen shipments back to India.
Okay.
So it demonstrates a continued, albeit maybe sometimes complex, sense of responsibility. It just shows that even with a philosophy rooted in impact, the path isn't always smooth or straightforward. There can be friction points.
It seems his power is also deeply intellectual, though. He consistently challenges the traditional VC orthodoxies, right? Arguing that avoiding failure is actually the surest path to irrelevance.
Yeah, he's definitely influenced a new generation of VCs to think differently.
Pushing them to take bigger risks.
Exactly. And this is tied to what some people call his decade ridicule rule, this idea that the most transformative ideas, they're usually laughed at or at least heavily dismissed for a good 10 years before they gain acceptance.
Huh. The decade ridicule rule.
Think about it. We saw it with impossible foods, certainly with OpenAI early on, and with areas like synthetic biology now. He almost expects and embraces that initial ridicule as a sign he might be onto something truly big.
And how does he handle actual crises? Economic downturns, market crashes. For him, they're not signals to run for the hills.
No, more like filters. Filters that separate the weak ideas, the companies that maybe shouldn't have been funded, from the truly resilient ones that can weather the storm. He reframed those big Cleantech losses from the 2010s as, again, tuition for understanding future energy markets.
Okay, if we connect this to the bigger picture then, his long-term play is simple but kind of radical. Optimize for problems that might take decades to solve.
That's it. A crisis isn't an interruption to his strategy. It's actually an integral part of compounding these bold bets over time. It weeds out the weak. It's almost counterintuitive to everything we're taught about short-term gains and quarterly results.
Yeah.
The pattern is unmistakable throughout his career. Fail fast, endure the mockery, double down on the conviction, and then wait patiently for the world to catch up. It requires incredible patience.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, listening right now?
There.
Khosla's journey, I think, offers powerful lessons that go way beyond Silicon Valley.
Definitely.
His failures, they became foundations.
Yeah.
His hunger for impact, not just piling up wealth, that drove every single stage of his career. The real lesson isn't that failure guarantees success.
No, of course not.
But that the courage to face it, and more importantly, learn from it, is absolutely essential for any breakthrough that truly matters.
And think about his redefinition of money again. With $9.2 billion, he has more than enough by any measure, right? Yet he treats it not like a trophy to polish, but as fuel. Fuel to attempt the improbable. That really challenges how most of us think about ambition, about wealth. The true measure of wealth, for him, seems to be the freedom, the optionality, to chase ideas that could spectacularly fail, or spectacularly succeed.
And there's that deeper lesson about time, too. His willingness to be misunderstood for years, maybe even decades.
Yeah, that patience piece is huge. Because the most important world-changing ideas rarely arrive with immediate universal consensus. They often look crazy at first.
Khosla really embodies this powerful paradox, doesn't he? That the world's boldest billionaires often seem to stop obsessing about the billions altogether.
It seems that way.
By letting go of that need for certainty, for predictable returns, he built a fortune far greater than certainty could ever provide. By treating failure as tuition, he unlocked opportunities others just never saw or were too scared to touch.
Right.
His philosophy really forces us to confront our own comfort zones. I mean, where in your life might you be playing it too safe or maybe missing an impossible opportunity because it looks too risky?
And his philosophy of power, it seems to be about amplification, amplifying ideas, amplifying people, amplifying possibilities. His legacy feels rooted not in dominance, but in daring.
So what stands out to you from Vinod Khosla's story as you reflect on this? Ask yourself, would you be willing to fail publicly, to be ridiculed for a decade, maybe, if it meant having a shot at shaping the next century?
A tough question.
It is. That's the uncomfortable courage his journey kind of demands we consider.
Yeah.
His path, from that humble soy milk failure all the way to $9.2 billion, it shows us that wealth without risk is fragile. But risk, when it's embraced with real vision, that can leave a profound mark on the world.
A powerful thought to end on.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe bold risk-taking like this is still possible, maybe even necessary in today's world? With AI, climate tech, global uncertainty swirling around? Or has caution really become the safer, smarter path? Maybe the greatest secrets of the rich aren't just found in their bank accounts. But in the challenging questions, they leave us asking about our own lives, our own choices.